he did a heroic deed. He discovered a bomb there, and a bomb.
Everyone is talking after Clint Eastwood breaks his silence with a confession. If you're curious about his identity, you've most likely seen him in the iconic movie The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. With his riveting performances and piercing stare, Eastwood rose to fame in Hollywood. However, beneath the celebrity and tough guy persona is a life full with secrets, hardships, and victories, his own tale of the good, the ugly and the bad. We'll delve deeply into the unsaid realities in today's video. Explore the life of Clint Eastwood and examine the revelation that astounded his admirers. Early life and education. Clint Eastwood made a powerful coming into the world. Born at St. Francis on May 31, 1930, he shocked the medical professionals at Memorial Hospital in San Francisco by weighing 11 pounds, 6 ounces, leading his parents, Ruth, née Margaret Runner, and Samson, to call him Samson Sr. Clinton Eastwood. Eventually, Ruth dropped her first husband's last name to make room for her second child, John Belden Wood, while Clint was brought up as Eastwood, his true father. He had a younger sister, therefore he wasn't the lone child in the family. Bernhard, Jean. The intriguing history of the Eastwood family may be traced back to his veins are laced with many strands of English, Irish, Scottish, and Dutch heritage. The roots of Clint Eastwood are firmly rooted in America. He was born in North America, making him the 12th generation. Derived from the famous Mayflower passenger William Bradford. The family of Eastwood, however, his childhood was not as nomadic as he has claimed in interviews. Although in the 1930s, his father had to move 3 times due to changes in his job. In 1940, they moved to Piedmont, California, despite multiple documented accounts. In this sophisticated city, the Eastwoods were able to live comfortably. Growing up in California, Clint most likely enjoyed the swimming pool at their home. Son. A country club membership implies a socially active lifestyle, which is reinforced by the fact that both Ruth and Clinton Sr. owned automobiles, which was uncommon in those days. Monetary. Since Clint's father was employed as a manufacturing worker, stability seems to have been the norm. Executive who spent the majority of his career at Georgia-Pacific. Clint and Jean, his younger sister, as she got closer to puberty, Ruth worked as a clerical at IBM to help support the family. There were difficulties with Clint Eastwood's formal education. Academic challenges emerged early at Piedmont Middle School, where he was held back a lot because of his bad grades. He even took additional summer classes to stay on course, according to the records. Eastwood ultimately attended Piedmont High School in January 1945, however he didn't stay long. Despite the lack of clarity, it is clear that his time at Piedmont High was not marked by scholastic achievement. After several infractions, he was dismissed by January 1946. It is unknown what these infractions specifically include. However, there have been cases of Clint Eastwood wrote an inflammatory message on the scoreboard of the athletic field, maybe in refusal to comply with school rules. In a different event, an effigy was set on fire on school property, increasing the degree of rebellion that was shown. Alongside other concerns, due to these acts, Piedmont High School came to a choice that seemed to be quite harmful to the well-known actor. Eastwood completed his education at Oakland Technical High School, which might have revealed a change in his emphasis for schooling. Oakland Tech is a university renowned for its varied occupational programs, which could make studying more engaging. Setting for a young guy whose interests extended beyond the typical classroom. He intended to graduate in January 1949, midway through the year, but the circumstances surrounding his actual graduation are yet mostly unknown. Nonetheless, a lot of people thought the movie star did everything in his power to graduate. Although the specifics of what transpired are still unknown, his classmates' testimonials provide some understanding. Inside the high school years of Clint Eastwood. With a sense of humor, Don Kincaid remembers Eastwood excelled in that trade class or even the aviation program. One more of his high, Don Loomis, a classmate, informs us that Clint Eastwood's priorities extended beyond academics. He pursued a different goal than what other individuals in his age group would have desired. He came to the conclusion that Eastwood's social life was more busy outside of school. Fritz Maynes, one of his junior colleagues, also attests to this part of the story. Who thinks Eastwood might have simply chosen to give more importance to an education that is rich in experiences outside of the classroom. These recollections offer insight on Eastwood as a teenager, who was probably more focused on creating his own rather than adhering to a dull academic schedule that he felt would not be very helpful to him. However, how did he get to know his hidden crush, whom he didn't have the confidence to tell until he was 94? Keep an eye out. Eastwood did not have an easy path to success at the beginning of his career. Even though he comes from Clint Eastwood, from a wealthy family, had to forge his own path. Additionally, as many would say, it was never a procedure. Prior to becoming famous on the big screen, he held a variety of occupations to build a wide go back to work. From newspaper delivering to lifeguarding, grocery shop clerking, and combating forest fires, Eastwood's early years were marked by a desire to try golf caddying as well as novelties. He also made an effort to advance my education during this time. According to reports, Eastwood made the decision in 1951 to enroll at Seattle University. But destiny, or perhaps the impending Korean War, stepped in. Eager to serve his country, Eastwood was drafted into the U.S. Army. There was significant criticism, though, because of Eastwood's experiences during the Korean War. Although he might have suggested a more action-packed segment, Sondra Locke, his lifelong friend, thought differently. Locke claims that Eastwood served his entire military service as a lifeguard assigned to Northern California's Fort Ord. If this is accurate, this particular element paints a less spectacular picture of his military career. In spite of regardless of the situation, Eastwood's time in the Army undoubtedly influenced him. If it was the camaraderie forged with fellow troops or the discipline imposed by military life, the young man who would go on to become a Hollywood celebrity was definitely greatly impacted by these experiences. There is much ambiguity about Eastwood's tenure at Fort Ord, a military installation in California. Although details regarding his specific duties are unknown, some stories, he might have had some privilege, as evidenced by his friend Don Loomis's. Loomis talks about rumors of a romantic relationship with a Fort Ord officer's daughter. This can affect his tasks. During this time, one particularly tragic occurrence stands out. According to reports, Eastwood visited Seattle while on leave. For a scheduled meeting, perhaps. The Douglas AD bomber he was traveling in on his way back, it ran out of gasoline and crashed into the water close to Point Reyes, which was a major issue. Both the pilot and Eastwood displayed amazing fortitude. A life raft was utilized, along with their swimming skills, to make the 2-kilometer journey to safety, showcasing their courage and resourcefulness when things get dangerous. In February, Eastwood's military service was formally concluded. 1953. Although there is ongoing debate on certain parts of his tenure at Fort Ord, there is without a doubt, this encounter gave the young Eastwood important traits. Discipline: he would succeed in Hollywood if he was resourceful and perhaps a little lucky. There is ongoing discussion on the specifics of Clint Eastwood's first Hollywood break. According to one version, which was promoted by a CBS News release for the television program Rawhide, fortunate meeting in Eastwood's military installation, Fort Ord. As per one story, while on filming, a Universal International Studios production crew noticed Eastwood and extended an invitation to him to meet the director after expressing satisfaction with his conduct. Patrick McGilligan, however, the story's authenticity has been questioned by Eastwood's unofficial biographer, who said that it was not entirely apparent why the connection was made. The official biography of Eastwood offers an alternative viewpoint. Chuck Hill is featured and given credit for it. An old friend from Fort Ord, for starting his career in Hollywood. Clint Eastwood met with Chuck Hill, who seemed to have some connections in the movie business. After their military service and succeeded in gaining him access to the Universal Studios location in Los Angeles. Chuck Hill took Eastwood to a crucial meeting with cameraman Irving Glassberg. That would open the door for his screen test and the contracts he would inevitably get after that. Cameraman Irving Glassberg's arrangement of the entrance turned out to be a turning point for Eastwood. Glassberg arranged for him to try out with Universal producer Arthur Lubin Studios. Although Lubin was clearly awed by Eastwood's intimidating physical appearance, he was 6 feet 4 inches, was not as excited about his acting abilities. Eastwood's lack of expertise was clear. He was very amateurish. Lubin later observed, he had no idea where to turn, what to do or where to go. Lubin saw potential in the young man despite his reservations. In April 1954, he suddenly offered Eastwood his first contract with the firm after encouraging him to hone his skills in theater classes. The salary was a meager $100 per week. The initial phase of Eastwood's cinematic career wasn't without its challenges. There were indications of stiffness and lack of professionalism in his early efforts, which some ascribed to his tendency to deliver and his nervousness. Criticism was leveled at the Eastwood mannerism of drawing lines through clenched teeth. In the end, Lubin's wager on Eastwood's innate talent paid off. With diligence and knowledge, despite these early setbacks, Eastwood would go on to become a captivating cinematic presence, solidifying his reputation as a legend in Hollywood. Eastwood's crush, is it also an actress from Hollywood? To discover out, keep watching. Eastwood had several challenges on his initial foray into Hollywood acting. In May of 1954, his first official, Six Bridges to Cross, audition ended tragically when director Joseph He was turned down by Pevney. During Eastwood's initial tryouts, this started to appear frequently. However, patience was rewarded. He was given a chance by director Jack Arnold in Revenge, with a little part. A follow-up to the iconic Creature from the Black, of the Creature, 1955, Lagoon, marked Eastwood's official, albeit brief, on-screen debut. As a budding actor, I worked hard for the remainder of 1954. In September, he was hired to work on Arthur Lubin's Lady Godiva of Coventry, for 3 weeks. Then made an appearance in Francis in the Navy, in February 1955 as a sailor named Jonesy, which was credited. In Jack Arnold's Tarantula, he made another uncredited appearance while disguised as a squadron pilot. Despite being small, these early roles provided invaluable on-set experience and kept Eastwood's entry into the motion picture industry. He continued to expand his portfolio, waiting for his big break, honing his craft one small gig at a time. Eastwood's early Hollywood career was characterized by constant hustle and little roles. In May of 1955, for a meager 4 hours, he worked on the movie Never Say Goodbye. He also received his first uncredited Western film, making a brief cameo as a ranch worker in Law Man, also referred to as Star in the Dust, which came out in August. This initial foray into the breakthrough he needed for future endeavors was the genre that would subsequently define his career. He continued to concentrate on movies, but television offered an opportunity. July 2, 1955 on NBC's Alan in Movieland, Eastwood made his debut appearance on television with a credit. A variety show that also included Tony Curtis and Steve Allen, two legendary comedians, as well as a musical performance by Benny Goodman, a swing legend. This brief appearance illustrated Eastwood's increasing self-assurance in front of the lens. He gradually started to embrace the many tactics needed to raise the caliber of his work and produce an entertaining show. Clint Eastwood still had some issues in spite of his achievements. Despite the fact that he performed despite his best efforts, some regrettable events nevertheless occurred. One of these was that on October 23, 1955, Universal Studios decided to terminate his contract. This, although rejection would have been disastrous, Eastwood saw it as a teaching opportunity. Unaffected considering what had transpired, he made the decision to apply the knowledge he acquired during these formative years to explore new opportunities, paving the way for a more significant phase of his Hollywood career. Eastwood returned to his starting point after Universal released him. He remained steadfast in his Hollywood aspirations, therefore he joined the Marsh Agency with the intention of obtaining improved portrayal. To some extent, this choice paid out. Lubin, Arthur, who continued to encourage Eastwood after initially recognizing his brilliance. Lubin gave Eastwood his largest role to date in The First Traveling Saleslady, 1956. He even was cast in Escapade in Japan, 1957, another Lubin picture. But the absence of a due to a long-term deal with a large studio, financial instability was a constant problem. Ever resourceful, Eastwood adjusted his ways after consulting with Irving Leonard, his financial advisor. In an effort to increase his prospects, he approached two talent agencies. He started off at the Cuman-Olenek got to Mitchell Gertz in 1957 after leaving agency in 1956. Although a major breakthrough, these agencies helped him secure a few little TV appearances, but he remained elusive. He showed off his adaptability by portraying an enraged Army colonel in a segment of ABC's Highway Patrol episode featuring a menacing motorcyclist gang member and the Reader's Digest series. Eastwood has two additional opportunities to show off his versatility in 1957. He played a suicidal gold prospector in the drama Death Valley Days and donned a West Point cadet uniform in the series of the same name. In spite of their small stature, he was able to refine his acting abilities while keeping his Hollywood reputation thanks to these varied tasks. Picture. Eastwood was determined to keep going, accumulating roles for his portfolio one at a time, waiting for the right opportunity to launch him into the public eye and make him a household name. For Eastwood, 1958 was a turning point that opened up more acting opportunities. He once again donned a Navy uniform, this time for a segment of the TV show Navy Log. He made a notable cameo on the popular program Maverick, which starred James Garner, in early 1959. Red Hartigan, portrayed by Eastwood, was a scoundrel who wanted to wed a wealthy man. Heiress to receive her wealth. In this short part, Eastwood was able to show that he could portray a complex enemy, a talent that would come to define his subsequent work. Although there was always work to be done on television, Eastwood's main focus was on the big screen. He briefly appeared in the war film Lafayette Escadrille, 1958, as an aviator. The Western movie Ambush at Cimarron Pass, 1958, also gave him a significant role, which he later referred to as his career's low point. Even after losing, Eastwood remained unfazed. He went on to refine his craft, taking on a variety of roles that showed his versatility and tenacity. He had no idea that something historic was going to happen. A turning point in Clint Eastwood's career occurs in 1958. Following years of constant perseverance, he eventually landed the position that would make him famous. CBS decided to Eastwood's big break came when they cast him as Rowdy Yates in their new hour-long Western series. Rawhide had been anticipating the chance to showcase his abilities on a national level. Eastwood wasn't really excited about the character, though. Nearing 30, he believed he was too young and ungainly for Rowdy Yates. In spite of his first misgivings, Eastwood embraced the idea. In the summer of 1958, filming got underway under the blazing Arizona sun. The gamble proved to be very successful. The song Rawhide rose to the top 20 in just 3 weeks. In the ratings of television. Even though there weren't many Emmy nominations at the time, the series was incredibly successful. Between October 1960 and April 1961, it peaked at number 6 in the ratings. For a number of years, Rawhide took over the airwaves, solidifying Eastwood's status as a TV personality and establishing the foundation for his future move to the big screen as a star. Eastwood's 1959 to 1965 Rawhide filming years served as a model for perseverance. Long hours, often 6 days a week, were required by the demanding schedule, with an average of on set for 12 hours every day. Several filmmakers persisted in criticizing Eastwood despite his zeal. Him for what they saw to be insufficient effort. This challenging tempo, along with a feeling of the effects of creative inertia, started to show. Rawhide was losing viewers by the end of 1963. The screenplay, after being exciting and new at first, became monotonous, and the ratings started to drop. As a result, in the midst of the 1965 to 1966 season, the show was cancelled. Rawhide might not have allowed Eastwood complete creative freedom, but it did provide him an essential platform. He got well known after honing his acting skills. Fascinatingly, Eastwood's goals during this period extended beyond acting. He expressed a wish to direct several of the show's trailers and work behind the camera. But he was unsuccessful in getting producers to offer him an episode to direct. The financial benefits of Eastwood's dedication to Rawhide are substantial. In the first season he only received $750 every episode of the show. At the moment of cancellation, with a massive severance payout of $119,000 per episode, his value had soared. A reflection of his growing stardom in Hollywood. Although the lengthy workdays and limitations on creativity may have occasionally been disagreeable, Rawhide acted as a launching pad for Eastwood's subsequent achievements, propelling him to a successful cinematic career and, ultimately, the director's chair he had always wanted. Due to his success and rise in television, Clint Eastwood's star power expanded, enabling him to receive bigger roles in movies. The American revisionist western Hang 'Em High, released in 1968, signified a turning point. This gritty thriller, starring Clint Eastwood, had fantastic Dennis Hopper, Pat Hingle, and Inger Stevens. He played a man out for revenge. After being abandoned for dead and lynched by vigilantes. Eastwood's depiction of a broken-his-image as a tough-as-nails protagonist was confirmed when the anti-hero won over the audience. The success of Hang 'Em High brought Clint Eastwood significant financial gains. In addition to his substantial salary of $400,000, he also received a quarter of the movie's total box office receipts.